Right, all you listeners of the madness and anyone lucky enough to catch this show in their AM/FM dials. Welcome to yet another unpredictable, unplanned, unseasoned, and now under a giant oversized halftime blend that's sponsored by a drink I haven't taken in well over 20 years edition of Under the Radar. I am your host for the East Coast, DJ Smokey, and seeing the fact that we are bringing you madness prior to one of the biggest football games of the year, and we're not talking about soccer, folks, I think it's time for us to waste no time to explain to you guys what we got prepared for a very special pigskin Super Bowl of Madness edition of Under the Radar. Because we kick things off with another newspaper clipping edition of yesterday's news. Also, besides that, we checked out what sort of screenshots and whatnots we were able to find for the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for another edition of a Four Squared Delight. And speaking of the beyond, we also go and tie on our Rod Sterling suits with apparently football designs on it to check out some cool indie games from beyond that fifth dimension door for another trip to the Indy zone that apparently has some form of football flying through it right now. Weird. Next up on the plate, we find out which one of you crazy stunners is gonna fumble before you hit a touchdown and a halftime stunt that'll take off half your life for another edition of the wild world of stunts. And apparently, according to Carla the Maestro, it's probably a quarter of their lives, not half. All right? But I still think it's half. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before those infomercials flicker on and off your television sets, we wrap up this show with a very special 10.0 kickoff edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and for any of you listening at home, ease back those recliners, because it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. Let's get this madness started, folks. Right, all you listeners of the madness, welcome back to Under the Radar. And Carla the Maestro asking me, why didn't we say during Music Village our usual traditional prediction of who we think is going to win the Super Bowl? Well, we were waiting until the madness showed up to properly give you guys a prediction of who we think is going to win the Super Bowl this year. And I would have to say it's going to be a close game, but it's going to most likely be in favor of the Chiefs. Even though I think Philadelphia can be the team to actually break the streak of the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think it's gonna happen. There's probably gonna be some play that's gonna cost them, some flag on the play that's gonna happen, and then the Chiefs are gonna walk away with the victory. You know, better luck next year for the Eagles. But, you know, congratulations in advance to the Chiefs if they win. But besides me trying to predict who's gonna win a Super Bowl, folks, I think it's time for us to take out our left-handed scissors to cut out some very interesting newspaper clippings from this past weekend and beyond for another edition of yesterday's news. And And in our first yesterday's news story, and in sad news from the world of multiverses. And a double-edged sword in this case, folks, because this past week, it would be announced that their 5th season would be their final season for multiverses. And unlike the last time, this time the game is going to be shutting down permanently in the next upcoming months. But before the game shuts down, folks, besides minor improvements they decided to improve upon, they would also decide to announce the final 2 characters featured for the 5th season, being none other than Lola Bunny and, of course, Aquaman. Now, it's a shame before this game shut down, we didn't get a chance to see the Animaniacs causing chaos in the world of multiverses. I got a feeling that would have been absolutely insane to see, and that was my top character that I was hoping to see in the game outside of Freakazoid. Because for some strange reason, I got a feeling he would play similar to, I guess, a combination of Ness and Captain Falcon, if that makes any sense. But either way you look at it, folks, we would hear from the president of the game saying that not only he's in deep mourning for the game and nobody wanted this outcome, and it wasn't from lack of caring or effort, and would thank all of the fans and everyone else out there for playing the game. And trust me, man, don't worry, over the next couple of months leading into the shutdown for this game, we will mention a couple of more video game stories for this set game, and one hopefully featuring Lola Bunny or possibly Aquaman. You know, because I can't wait to see how in the world they would play in the multiverses. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the updates and, of course, the other cool things they've got coming down the tubes prior to their shutdown, prior to the summer, then you can go ahead and head on over to the website known as Multiverses to check it out for yourselves. And as a little bit of a heads up, the game Multiverses will be shutting down as of May 30th of 2025. So you guys got about 2 months and change until the game shuts down? Hopefully you can make some good memories with it. And in other yesterday's news, and in news of what-if scenarios that I thought I would never hear, because for you fans out there who always wanted to hear Outkast's Hey Ya sung by Green Day, well, Matt Glocky's got you covered, because he would decide to do a cover of a what-if scenario if Outkast's Hey Ya was sung by Green Day. It was pretty cool sounding. Now, here's hoping in the near future we get a chance to hear, let me think. I guess Disturbed doing So Fresh and So Clean. You know, a lot of people think that wouldn't be possible, but I got high hopes that it can work. And according to Carla the Maestro, that might be the weirdest one to date, but they would want to hear it because of the whole thing where they were able to bring Shaggy's song of It Wasn't Me to a Disturbed metal-like form. It could work. It could work. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out this what-if scenario from Matt Glocky's Science Lab of Music, and that's the best way to describe it, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Matt Glocky to check it out for yourself. And in other yesterday's news and more or less Bronami Code news. For any of you out there who was chomping at the bit and wondered if the Bronami Code will bring the magic of Tekken to the AEW locker room, well, I have some good news for you. Because not only it would feature members of Private Party and even none other than a Bad Apple or two and Prince Nana all jumping into the world of Tekken. And with Shelton Benjamin on the roster, I got a feeling it's only a matter of time before we see the Gold Standard jumping on the sticks to try to get his revenge against a whole new locker room of people who wants to try to understand the world of Tekken. Now, one thing I will say, unfortunately, Samoa Joe was not in attendance. So here's hoping in the near future they can get the man who invented and started the power game into that locker room and just, you know, clean up around there. You know what I mean? Clean up. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the AEW locker room playing a good old-fashioned round of Tekken or two, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as AEW Games to check it out for yourselves. And in other yesterday's news, and more or less Celtic Warrior versus Scottish Terminator news. Because if you guys out there thought that the rivalry between Sheamus ended in the weight room and not only in the ring, we would also see them duking it out over some wild hot wings during the said challenge of apparently hot ones, according to Carla the Maestro. Really? And yes, folks, if you wonder if things was tense in the ring with the cool matches they would be able to put on, well, let's just say with the hot wings, it would just be a wee bit worse. And with plenty of funny moments to be had, too. And if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and check out all of the hot and funny moments that would take place in the world of Hot Ones, where Drew McIntyre would go one-on-one against Sheamus, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as First We Feast to check it out for yourselves. And in other yesterday's news, and in news from the world of Creep TV, and Colin Michael said Crypt TV, I know. Well, for those out there who was wondering what Glam and Glamour was bringing this week, apparently something along the lines of cats. And no, Carl and the Maestro, not in the line of the classic Broadway musical that was taking off Broadway several years ago. No, something highly disturbing and something you have to see for yourselves to believe. And yeah, this might be one of the most outrageous episodes to date, and Carl and the Maestro say you don't have much to work with. There was only 2 episodes. Yeah, but I got a feeling they're gonna top themselves with each episode that's gonna be featured. How many of those will be, we do not know. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the madness from the world of Crypt TV from glamour to glam, then you can go ahead and check it out on the YouTube page of one man only known as Crypt TV to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special pre-Super Bowl edition of yesterday's news. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into the music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more madness than you could shake a stick at, as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. And we're back with the show of madness that is always filled with some form of musical surprise from Carl and the Maestro, only known as Under the Radar. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, this is one of the hidden files they had for us that they forgot to mention from the past year. I guess it was lost in the other files you had, right? And yeah, they said yes. It was on another computer, but they managed to find it and bring it to me today. And speaking of things we were able to find over the weekend, I think it's time for us to check out a couple of those screenshots and whatnots from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for another edition of the Four Squared Delight. And the first screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Long Dev Dino with their said game of Paleophage. And the screenshot that they were able to find for this week shows you trying to take on dinosaurs in a museum, all while getting scared crapless when one pops out of the pool, only for you to lose the fight against one of these dinos and your arm in the process, all before the title of the game would pop up on the screen. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of, well, yeah, it reminds me of Dino Crisis. Never had a chance to play that game, but always wanted to. And with this game here, I may give it a shot. And here's hoping in the near future for this game that not only you get a chance to upgrade your weapons, but there's also a survival mode you get a chance to do, just like in the classic Resident Evil series, to see how many dinos you can take out while unlocking some cool things along the way. And Carla the Maestro asked me what would happen if a Tyrannosaurus Rex shows up? Yeah, I saw it during the screenshot too and forgot to mention it, and if that's the case, well, we're screwed. Unless we got a rocket launcher, which I hope they have in this game. That or an elephant rifle, that might take it out. But besides trying to take out a dino with an elephant rifle, folks, and speaking of shooting, the next screenshot that we have up, literally and figuratively, comes from none other than Spine, or Play Spine, with their said screenshot from the video game of Spine. And for their 15 screenshot seconds of fame this week, they would decide to not only do a flip kick to a gunshot, and even take out several people in a small warehouse with a well-placed shotgun blast near a barrel, and would even be able to do kicks, punches, spray paint blast, and a shot right directly to the face, only to take it to a giant oversized mech bot by doing a backflip gunshot right directly under one of the armor points, all before the cameras can fade to black. And this automatically reminds me of a combination of Batman Arkham Asylum with a little hit of Equilibrium in there as well too. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you get a chance to pull off a Tiger Knee to take out your opponents before shooting them in the face. And Carla the Maestro said we missed the past 2 weeks, and yes, there is a Tiger Knee you can do to actually take them to the ground and shoot them in the face. Oh, you mean a Meteora? I meant an actual Tiger Knee, but you know what? That'll count. That'll count. Now, here's also hoping in the near future you get a chance to get some form of grappling hook to pull them back in to really take it to them for a combinational move. And Carla the Maestro said, wouldn't that be cheating? Well, they're in a mech. What do you call that? And they said a fair advantage. All right? But besides that fair advantage, folks, the next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Next Indy with their said screenshot from the video game of Anarchy Road. And the screenshot to prove how much anarchy is on the road would show our hero not only moving out of the way of a giant oversized train by passing underneath it, but also moving out of the way of a giant oversized robot trying to race their way to the checkpoint, and at the same time being able to fly up the side of a giant oversized building, all while the cameras would fade to black afterwards. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of Motorstorm. Yeah, it definitely reminds me of Motorstorm. And here's hoping in the near future for this said screenshot that not only you get a chance to pull off some cool stunts while in this place, but also a chance for you to even be able to, according to Carla the Maestro, what about customizing cars? You know what? Yeah, that, and maybe a chance to customize your own levels as well, too. Because I got a feeling a couple of you indie gamers out there might add something a lot worse than a giant, oversized robot attacking you and different forms of buildings falling down while you're trying to race through a world. And they would say, Carla the Maestro would say, yeah, they would. Because they're over there with a tiny race car set trying to get a giant building to fall down for you to race inside of. Yeah, just like Motorstorm. Just like Motorstorm. And the next screenshot that we have up, besides you trying to race inside of a destructible environment, comes from the Twitter page of Hyde Works Games with their said game of Liminal Point. And the screenshot that they provided for this week not only features you trying to solve crazy out there puzzles, but even taking it to weird Markland Beast-like characters inside of a giant oversized mansion, and even making your way down into the basement to try to take out more of those crazy creatures with shotguns, axes, pistols, and whatever bric-a-brac you could possibly find, all while being cornered by a litany list of these said creatures, all before the cameras faded to black, including fighting a giant oversized television monster with a satellite hanging out of his spinal cord. And this game automatically reminds me of a combination of not only Silent Hill and with a little hit of Resident Evil in there as well too. Yeah, definitely reminds me of that. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get something just a little bit stronger than a shotgun to take out these creatures, and Carl in the Maestro said what could be possibly stronger than a shotgun? Well, you're in an old school mansion. I'm hoping you find a blunderbuss to blow the daylights out of that set creature over in the corner that looked like a giant television set. Because I don't think that shotgun's going to be able to break those TV sets off them. And here's also hoping for a Molotov cocktail to take it out too, because I got a feeling if you don't take it out with fire, it's just going to keep coming back. That's how it works. Those are the rules. And the last but not least screenshot that we have up for this week that hopefully doesn't need fire to take out the said creatures comes from the Twitter page of Rogue Mansion, or Emerald Games, with their said game of Rogue Mansion. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our hero taking on what appears to be some form of Markland beast inside of a bar, with the help of a tiny dog, all while trying to avoid different hits from these said creatures. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of, I would have to say it reminds me of The Last of Us, with the exception that you have a dog helping you out instead of a girl. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only the dog can help you find certain items to get you out of these hairy situations you find yourself in, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to upgrade or craft your own different forms of weapons, since you were using a spiked baseball bat to take it to these bad guys, or creatures, or Markland beasts as I would call them on a multitude of occasions. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool screenshots and whatnots from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the said Twitter pages of not only Octo Curio, Oliver Snyders, Nomad, Playing Indies, Indy Rhymes, Alpha Beta Gamer, Shot_Games, Indy, or Next Indy according to Carl and the Maestro, as well as the said screenshot Saturday hashtag. But for any of you out there who wants to go ahead and check out any of the screenshots that we liked for this week and get a further interpretation of it for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to our Twitter page, only known as the Double Agent 0012, where Carl and the Maestro decided to make a screenshot folder entitled Great Screenshots, with a thumbs up on the side that apparently has a star on the end of the thumb. How'd you pull that off? And they said magic. All right, I'll take it. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to the music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with a trip straight directly to the Indie Zone as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't touch that dial away from the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you listeners of the madness, and especially you indie game lovers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's screenshots of the week goes to not only Play Spine with their screenshot from the video game of Play Spine, or Spine according to Carl and the Maestro, and also goes to none other than Hide Words with their said screenshot from the video game Liminal Point. And and even goes to none other than Log Dev Dino with their set game of Paleophage. And the reason why in the world these 3 screenshots made it in for this week? Well, for the first one, anytime you get a chance to use Gung Fu to take out your opponents in the most crazy ways known possible, definitely a thumbs up in our book. And for the second screenshot, well, if you're in a giant oversized mansion fighting a television monster with a satellite spinal cord, that is definitely something very unique to be seen on screen. And more or less on the screen of his face too, according to Carl and the Maestro, which don't remind me because that still creeps me out. And finally, the reason why the last screenshot made it in for the screenshot for the week for this week, well, anytime you're in a giant oversized park fighting against dinosaurs in a game that I thought would never see the light of day again after all these years, definitely deserves to be mentioned during this part of the show as well too. Speaking of things that are beyond belief that needs to be mentioned for this set part of the show, I think it's time for us to go ahead and open up that door to the 5th dimension of games while adjusting our side suits to our said Rod Sterling suits we're currently wearing as we make a trip directly to the Indy Zone. And look, Carl and the Maestro off in the far distance, right directly next to that football flying in the sky. There's some games coming down. Let's go grab them. And the first game that we have up comes from the developers Brent Arnold with their set game of Final Profit, a shop RPG. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99. But for those who wants to try it before you buy it, there's a demo for it right now. Next game we have up after that comes from none other than the developers Sword and Axe LLC with their set game of Dark Deity. Hey, that rhymes. But besides the fact of its rhyming, folks, this game currently available for the low price of $24.99. But for those out there who wants to have the turn-based bundle, you can get it for as low as $55.57. Next game we have up after that comes from none other than the developers Mega Wobble. Nice developer name, by the way, with their set game of Little Gator Game. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. But for those who want the Aquatic Adventures bundle, you can get it for as low as $31.98. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Microwave Games with their set game of Against All Odds. And this game currently available for the low price of $4.99. Next game we have up after that, folks, comes from none other than the developers of Kiyosaki Studios with their set game of Anvil Saga. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. But for those who want the deluxe edition, you can get it for as low as $22.48. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Bigfoot Studios, or according to Carl and the Maestro, Big Boot Studios, with their set game of Deck of Souls. Nice name for the game too, and this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. And Carl and the Maestro waving their hands over in the corner telling me that the game is actually $11.99. But the current pack that they have of the HeroCraft PC deck building bundle is $21.58. While Carl and the Maestro gets the prices fixed, the next game we have up comes from the developers Chroma Games with their set game of Infinity Girl. And this girl is not available just yet. It will come soon to a Steam machine near you, but you can currently download a demo for this game as we speak. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Nanos Pike with their said game of Galaxy Highways. And this game will be available as of April of 2025, but until it's out, you can currently play the demo for this game as we speak. Next game after that comes from the developers Lance 350, nice developer name by the way, with their said game of Indy. And this game currently available for the low price of $13.99. But for those out there who wants to try it before you buy it, you can. And apparently to give us a little bit of sticker shock, Carl and the Maestro said the Assemble Complete Bundle currently available for the low price of $623.42. Yikes. But it does come with a lot of games, folks. Well over 55 of them. So that's a bit of a steal. And the next game that we have up, besides Carl the Maestro giving people sticker shock, comes from the developers Studio Draconis with their said game of Zodiac Legend. And this game will release as of the second quarter of 2025, but until then there is currently a demo that you can play out there right now as we speak, so give it a try. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Triple Vision Games with their said game of These Doomed Isles. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99. Next game after that comes from the developers Harmo Fish, nice name by the way, with their said game of Spread. And this game, not out just yet, will be coming soon for a Steam machine near you. But until then, add it to your wish list and follow them on Twitter to find out when this game will release. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Carlos C with their said game of Full Metal Sergeant. And this game currently available for the low price of $9.99. But for those who wants the military bundle, you can get it for as low as $16.98. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Two Dynamic Games with their said game of Lumencraft. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. And for those out there wondering, yes, there's currently a demo that you can try at home right now as we speak. And with Carl and the Maestro even writing out the demo on the top in neon colors, it's free. And yes it is. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Mythic Owl with their said game of Harmony's Odyssey. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99. And for those who wants to try it before you buy it, there's currently a demo right now as we speak, so go get it. And the last but not least game that we have up for this week to kick off this 28 days of greatness of a month comes from none other than the developers Byte Parrot with their said game of Slope Crashers. And this game currently available for the low price of $17.99. But for those who wants to buy the Tricky Slopes bundle, you can get it for as low as $22.08. And the funny part about all this is, folks, it's Tricky Madness alongside with Slope Crashers. Two games we mention a part of a certain stunt part of the show, if you know what I mean. Hint, 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 hint. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way through that 5th dimension door as we speak, then you can go ahead and head on over to the steam.storepower page, only known as store.steampower.com, and just look up the DreamHack Beyond Indy Showcase page to check out a whole bunch of games that are just out of this world. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again, and when we return, we'll be back with another back-breaking, spine-tingling edition of the Wild World of Stunts as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you risk takers and backbreakers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And now it's time for us to find out which one of you crazy stunners is gonna most likely take half your lives off your life expectancy just to be a part of a halftime show like no other, as we leap into another edition of the Wild World of Stunts. And the first stunt that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Tricky Madness with their said stunt for the video game of Tricky Madness. And Carl and the Maestro, as well as the PR department, looking close at the screen, trying to wonder, is that Julia? Why, yes, it is Carl and the Maestro. And during this said stunt in this dreamlike world, we would see her pull off not only a double barrel roll tail grab leading directly into a, well, I do believe that's an Airman Sky Thrice Airwalker cart roll 360 that she was able to pull off, as well as a 360 gyroscope nose grab, followed up by a double backflip tail grab, as well as what a Carl and the Maestro likes to call the corkscrew spiral 900. And would be able to do all of this while landing on the fresh powder in this new dream world place like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like a glove. Now, if you're wondering at home why in the world we didn't say the proper names of these moves, well, yeah, when Julia's on that snowboard and you try to figure out whatever the world she's trying to do with it, yeah, it tends to be a problem. A very big, very crazy SSX tricky-like problem to solve half of the crazy tricks she's able to pull off in mid-flight. And yes, Carl and the Maestro, she is nominated for the Black Smoke Philly Stunt of the Year for this year. So knock it off before you ask. And oh, they're giving this stunt a perfect 10 at home too. And the next stunt that we have up, besides Carl and the Maestro and the PR department fanboying girling over in the corner, the next stunt that we have up comes from none other than Angry Demon Games with their said screenshot from the video game of Gory Game. And to prove how gory this game could be, we would see our cat-like friend here not only pulling off a 50-50 grind, leading directly into a tip flip, hill blade spin move, then leading off into a 360 spin into a Devil Drill 900, all for him to land on the board after killing one of the enemies and making soft drinks come out of his chest like what, Carl and the Maestro? I could love. And Carl and the Maestro and the PR department is asking me, is that demon okay? And no, it's not. It broke into 1,000 pieces all before soft drinks popped out of his stomach. That's not something that would live. Yeah, nothing would live from that. Nothing would live from that. Unless it's a Mountain Dew commercial, then maybe. But no, not in this case. What's wrong with you? Besides that potential Mountain Dew commercial in progress, according to Carla the Maestro, the next stunt that we have up comes from none other than UXGS 8S99WN with their said stunt from 2025.04. Apparently that's the log they have on their cell phone when they were recording this with several different GoPros with the girl in the car that would go by the name of Susie, since her real name is not allowed to be mentioned before the court date, would see her riding along the said highway in Los Santos, making her way up the road, texting her friend saying, "OMG, I can't believe they let me grab the keys to this car, LOL," and then for things to go horribly WTF within seconds. And what do I mean by that, folks? Well, while she was texting a friend, she forgot the golden rule of driving, and that's keep your eyes on the road. What is wrong with you? And how would that affect her driving? Well, she would drive up the side of the ramp and then immediately turn that said dirt part of that road into a ramp, kick flipping her directly into the sky in super slow motion, for her to fly sideways, then upside down, high-five the top of a tree that apparently is made out of a harder substance than the carbon fiber of that car, causing the car to flip right back over on all four wheels like what, Carla the Maestro? Like love. And I may have been laughing here, folks, but this is no laughing matter, and the reason why in the world this has turned into a whole court case is because of the fact that she grabbed that car pretending to be one of the test drivers for the said car, and yeah, it turns out not only she wasn't, but at the same time she used a friend's name for it, and on top of all of that, was able to knock off the back of the trunk or hood of this said car, costing her well over $50,000 in damages to the said vehicle. No way, I forgot. I should have moved that decibel over by at least $5 million in damages to this car. Holy crap. But Carla the Maestro, as well as the PR department, is giving this stunt a perfect 10, seeing the fact that she was able to land the car on its wheels with no problems. Yeah, with the exception of the broken hood we mentioned, and apparently the shocks and the headlights that are one of a kind on that car that needs to be repaired now. Yikes. Good luck in court. And the next stunt that we have up that I got a feeling won't end up in a court case comes from none other than Glime Ball with their said stunt of GTA 5 High Jump Across Marina. And in this week's return, after well over a 3-month hiatus, we would see Glime Ball jumping directly into the air, flying like an eagle, only for him to land all the way on the other side of downtown Los Santos from the LS River Reservoir to pull off a somewhat of a 180 to power slide his way directly into a parking spot that didn't get him a ticket when he drove there or flew there. Like what, Carla the Maestro? Like love. And Carla the Maestro, who are slack-jawed along with the PR department, is wondering how in the world was he able to get the car to go that fast? Because before I forget to mention, this was the car we call the Cruella de Vil car, or the Z-type car, that went flying into the air like if it was an A-type to power slide into that spot. And the only reason it was able to go that fast is because not only nitrous, but also thanks to the fact that Franklin was behind the wheel, which he happens to be a little bit of a car expert. So, yeah, there you go. Ta-da! And the last but not least stunt that we have up for this week comes from none other than Kitaro 5880 with their said stunt of Project 209. Now, this stunt, or more or less movie clip that was left on the cutting room floor but given to us by the people behind the movie Project 9, or Project 209, which apparently was going to be called Twin Razor, but they had copyright reasons, so they had to stick with Project 209. But long story short, folks, during this said stunt, we would see our two drivers of Indy and Max trying to drive the truck directly toward the gas station for the big final scene, for the truck to end up hitting the said gas tanks, at least 4 of them, more than the 2 they were supposed to hit, for a giant oversized explosion to happen and for several people to be affected by it. Not only the driver, who would end up suffering a concussion from the blast, according to the doctors over in the corner, but also alongside with them, the lady who was standing by the tank when a car flew past it, she would get blasted back and would suffer a broken arm. And the doctor is giving me this while the stunt's currently going on, because he would say, but wait, there's more. Because a girl who was making her way out of the said, I guess, convenience store that was right next to it would get caught in the concussion of the blast, causing a truck to fly, hit her in the face, and cause her to fly directly back into the wall of that said, I guess, 845 store, since apparently 7-Eleven is not the name of the said brand of that store. Then for the final girl to try to run from the explosive, which she was pretty close, she almost made it, and almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, and I got a feeling the blast from that car right next to her was like a hand grenade like blast, because it caused her to fly directly into the street and for someone to step on her afterwards for her to be knocked out unconscious. Now, if you're wondering what happened to the 2 on the bike, well, Max would be fine, but the other guy, who didn't wear a flame retardant suit, he would burst into open flames and suffer third-degree burns after the driver would run away, and for the director to scream, "Start, cut!" and then for this footage to be handed to us. And apparently, according to the tape, this took place about a week ago. Right. So, Doc, are they okay? And the doctor's not even looking at me and just banging his head against the clipboard, which I don't recommend, man. I don't recommend. And if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and check out any other crazy stunts that people are getting themselves made for unnecessary fame, then you can go ahead and head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and just click ever so lightly on that video button to check out which one of these crazy stunners is gonna help someone, I guess, win a halftime Super Bowl ad of the year with their crazy stunts. And Carl and the Maestro shaking their heads saying, nope, it's more of a case of them breaking more bones than tackles being broken during the current Super Bowl game you may or may not be watching. Okay, that's a better way to describe it. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week right after this. So don't touch that dial away for the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you graveyard shift racers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week goes to none other than Julia from the video game of Tricky Madness, and also goes to none other than Kritaro5880 with their said stunt of Project 209. Now, the reason why in the world these 2 stunts made it in for the stunt of the week for this week, well, for the first one, anytime you get a chance to pull off tricks that not even SSX Tricky heard of, definitely deserve to be mentioned during this part of the show. And for the reason for the second stunt, well, anytime you end up in a blockbuster explosion that needs to take 80 different angles to make sure that you didn't blow up in the blast, definitely deserve to be mentioned during this said part of the show too. Yeah. And according to Carla the Maestro, the fact that they were mentioned, all proceeds of that explosion goes toward the families and the tragedy of several of them being in a full body cast from that explosion. All right? And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines for the first time, a part of this 10.0 series, for a very special edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from none other than Kamaji, with their said track of the Random Stunt Race 5. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track, folks, well, outside of the fact of all of the random cars that are featured during it, but the litany list of vehicles that are also featured during it, with the exception of those weaponized vehicles you know and love so much. It's the sheer insanity of this said track alongside of the Grand Sonora Desert. Now, the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there for this said track is to make sure you're flexible with cars that you know how to use, and make sure you pick a great car to start off this race with, because it'll determine whether you finish this race in first or last. And, oh, on top of all of that, watch out for the hairpin turns that are featured during this race as well, including checkpoint 63, 62, I do believe checkpoint 40, as well as checkpoint 13, just to name a few. If you're able to get past that, you should do fine. We hope. We hope. And the next track that we have up comes from none other than Night Angel UK. Nice name, by the way, with their said track of Angel Neon Lights. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track, folks, with the fact that you get a chance to use a wide variety of vehicles, with the exception of van and utility and weaponized vehicles you know and love so much, but also because of the cool colors featured during this race, especially at night for this said track. Now, the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there is to make sure you pick a car with great handling and watch out for the hairpin turns that are featured during this said track. And also, when you're in those neon tunnels, don't get mesmerized by the colors. Because if you do, and the tunnels end and you gotta go back to the road and you're upside down, let's just say that's how your smile will be afterwards, because your car will explode and it will cost you during this said race. So, know your surroundings while you're in the neon tunnels, and don't get mesmerized, and watch out for those hairpin turns, and you'll be just fine. We hope. We hope. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Beats Down, with their said track of World's Fastest Drag Race. Now, the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track is not only because it's short and sweet, but also it gives you a chance to use just about every supercar you could think of in the book to try to test the speed that you have with that set car. Now, the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there for this set track is one thing and one thing only: control. I mean, you got speed. You definitely got speed with this track, but control is going to be very important. Because the second you lose control on this set track and you get a case of the speed wobbles and you just decide to just spin around in a circle, imagine trying to do that while you're on a drift pad or a speed pad and spin around. You'll end up like a Beyblade. And it will cost you during this set race. And for any of you out there who's racing alongside with them and think that you can pit maneuver them to get them out of the way, that may cost you during the race too. So yeah, if I were you, I would watch out if you decide to do that, because if you get caught, you will fly off with them. And that's a fact. I should know. And the next track that we have up comes from none other than Toxie CZNY with their said track of the Go-Karty Box. Which for some strange reason to me sounds like something that they would deliver to your house for Pizza Hut during the Indy 500 races. But trust me folks, it's not. And the reason why in the world we like this track, folks, not only because it gives you a chance to race with go-karts on this said track, but it's a pretty straightforward track with a lot of curves in it as well too. Now, the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there is to take it easy on the hairpin turns of checkpoint 8, checkpoint 9, checkpoint 11, checkpoint number 5, and as well as checkpoint 3. Because if you don't, let's just say it may cost you during this race in many, many ways. So take it easy on those hairpin turns, and hopefully you get the checkered flag in pole position for this said race. And the last but not least track that we have up to kick off the 10.0 series, and another Technicolor track from Night Angel UK with their said track of Angel Coloring. Starting to see a theme here with her. And the reason why in the world we like this track, folks, not only because of all the awesome colors that was featured during the track and the cool work that she put in for it, but also because of the litniness of vehicles you get a chance to use, with the exception of the utility and van vehicles and weaponized vehicles you know and love so much. Now, the only tip of advice I have for you fans out there for this Candyland Technicolor Dreamcoat of a race is, first off, watch out for the hairpin turns. I know that sounds like we've been saying it for the longest amount of time around here, but trust me, when you go fast and try to turn right or left, and that hairpin turn catches you and you slam it to the wall, you'll thank me later. But outside of the hairpin turns, make sure you pick the right car for the job, because if you don't pick something with good handling, it will come back to haunt you during this set race. So yeah, choose your car wisely, because it may come back to haunt you by the end of the race. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out all of these great tracks, plus other cool tracks that are still making their way through the world of Rockstar, then you can go ahead and head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page of one man only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and look up the playlist entitled Great Jumps to try out these tracks plus other tracks we decided to include for you to play at home. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special 10.0 series edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't touch that dial away from the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, all you listeners of the madness, seeing the fact that the infomercials are starting to flicker on and off your television sets and we've got to get out of here before that truly happens, we might as well bring control of the television sets back to you, the listeners of the madness at home, as we bring Under the Radar for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of the madness we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered. Because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages, still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Under the Radar 479. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, that's how many hidden files they still got lurking around the place, just in case we suffer from technical difficulties. Good idea. Good idea. And if you guys and gals out there want to figure out what the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for these 28 days of greatness, like a great backup plan idea Carl and the Maestro just gave me just not even 3 seconds ago, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Twitter, and Discord pages, still all named the same, only known as the Double Agent Double 012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the listeners of the madness out there for listening in to a very special pre-Super Bowl edition of Under the Radar. If you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Tony the Tiger. Yeah, just before he tells you something about Frosted Flakes. Yeah, and the PR department knows where I'm going with this one, and they're giving me a cool thumbs up while wearing a Tony the Tiger mascot outfit they were able to find this past weekend. Not bad. Looks good on ya. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys, and here's hoping your music gets featured during a halftime show in the near future. Whether it be soccer, football, hockey, tennis, whatever sport you can get your hands on. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. That's why. And speaking of people's musical talents we believe in, especially in this moment, we would like to thank Carl and Maestro with their following songs that was featured during the show. Not only the high-tech getaway, the iron training that was featured during the said GTA Online top 5 tracks of the week, and it may be permanent, we don't know just yet. And also the song you're listening to right now of the Systematic Error Short Circuit remix that is currently being featured during the outro as we speak for this week's edition of Under the Radar. And like always, Carl and the Maestro, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but certainly not least, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet, sweet video game hits, clips, tracks, and stunts that we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And like always, guys, keep those tracks, games, and stunts a-coming. And for this week, we managed to get you, what do we get them? Apparently, according to Carl and Maestro, we got you this helmet of the Philadelphia Eagles and, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs just in time for the Super Bowl. And if that doesn't work, apparently we got you this Tony the Tiger outfit to help you for your next stunt. Yeah, which should work. We hope. We hope. And like always, guys, keep them coming, because you never know what show might be coming around the corner next. Hint, hint. Hint, hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there that we go out, I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for you listeners of the madness getting ready for a pigskin game like no other, and for the start of this said 28 days of greatness, saying, they're great. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And always remember, don't you ever forget, no matter what time of the day this show may air, during whatever sort of computer mishaps we happen to have that has us recording off of a laptop while we see different things on some form of a blacktop, as Carl and the Maestro works a rag mop over in a corner while we mention eagles, lions, tigers, bears, and other things that may have been a sports team in certain places around the world to be mentioned a part of this show of utter madness prior to a big sporting event that takes place in America around this time of the year during a month of greatness. To keep flying low and stay under the radar. Good night, everybody.